Hey traders, welcome back to Valareso Capital. On today's video, we're gonna go through the weekly watch list and we're also gonna take a look at the market update. If you are interested in that information, make sure to stick all the way through this video. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Let's start here with the SPX. So we're gonna go directly into the charts. And remember guys that if at any point of this video you find any value, remember to subscribe to the channel. And also remember that all the information that I share is based just on my personal opinion and is not financial advice. So let's start first with going back to what we were talking about the SPX in last week's video. And the first thing that we were talking about is for the possibility of this continuation to the upside. So one of the targets that we mentioned was 5,880. And it's actually pretty interesting to see that the market stopped right there at that point that we were talking about. And most importantly, this point was just based on these psychological levels that we tend to see on the SPX. Another thing is, what is going to be the expectation going into next week? Now, the first thing that I consider when looking at the market, of course, is going to be price structure. And the first thing that I see when I see price structure here in the chart is that we continue to make higher lows and we continue to make higher highs. So first things first, the market structure in the SPX continues to be bullish. Then what usually happens is that we tend to see momentum divergences when this trend starts to get weak. And the way that I look at divergences is that I'm going to use my momentum indicators. And right now, for now, just as an example, let me show you what the market looked when we started topping on these levels right here. You can see right here that the market was continuing to go to the upside, but we had a significant momentum divergence and we had a negative cross to the downside here on the momentum indicator. And what happened here was pretty similar. We were having this advance to the upside and we were already on the negative side for this momentum indicator. Now the question is, what can we expect going into next week in terms of price and momentum? And the thing is that yes, price continues to go to the upside, but we haven't seen any negative divergence in the indicator. Yes, price continues to go up and the momentum indicator is lagging a little bit, but it continues to be positive. And we also can see that on my trend indicator, we also continue to be positive. So when I have these confirmations, the first thing that I say to myself, let's just follow the trend while the trend lasts. So the trend continues to be to the upside, and the price action is also confirming that information. If we anchor a VWAP to this gap that we had on the SPX, you can see that price continues to close above this anchor VWAP, and we are starting to form a really nice volume shelf somewhere around 5,850. If we happen to see a pullback. So these are going to be the scenarios that I'm going to be watching. First of all, I continue to be pretty bullish in the market. I think that we will continue to see higher prices, and we're going to take a look at the chart of the QQQs in just a second. But first things first, if by any case we happen to see a pullback in the market, I think that this level right here, which is somewhere around 5,825, I think that that level is going to be a very important level of support. First, because we have price and we also have this volume. And also we have this 8 exponential moving average that is starting to rise somewhere around that level. So if we happen to see a pullback, I think that that level is going to be a really nice opportunity to get long in the SPX looking for higher prices. Now, what is going to be the target? I have been talking about the target for a while now. The target continues to be 6,000 in the SPX, that is using Fibonacci, and you can watch my older videos for looking for what are the levels that I'm looking for these extensions. But the target continues to be 6,000. And now the short-term targets that I'm going to be watching, the first one is going to be somewhere around 5,920. That is going to be the first target. And then, of course, the middle of that, which is 5,950. And a support, once again, I'm going to be looking at this 5,825 level in the SPX. So if you take anything from this video, is that I continue to be bullish in the market and I'm looking for setups to participate in this uptrend. Now let's take a look at the Qs because the Qs continue to look pretty interesting. And what I really like about the Qs here is, let me just hide these alerts right here. You can see that I already have some alerts as as a heads up going into next week. But basically, the setup continues to be the same. And let me just hide this anchor VWAP that I have here in price. The setup in the queues is looking pretty nice. You can see that we are trading above this volume shelf right here. You can see that the price continues to be pretty bullish. Yes, we had a pullback, but you can see right here that we stop at this 488 level. You can see that momentum is bullish. And what is interesting here is that you can see that this chop that we're seeing in the queues is also confirmed by momentum. But momentum is starting to perk to the upside, which tends to be pretty bullish going into next week. And then, of course, the first thing that I'm looking is price, and the price is confirming this by staying above this volume shelf and also staying above this anchor VWAP. The target continues to be this high at 404, at 504, which is the previous all-time high in the queues. This is looking pretty awesome. And now the question is, what are going to be the setups that I'm going to be watching going into next week? So first, let me show you some of the setups that I already have, which is going to be Microsoft, SMCI, and Google. And then I'm going to show you a couple of setups that I'm going to be watching to getting involved going into next week. So the first setup that I have here is going to be Microsoft. Microsoft is looking awesome. I started this position on Friday. You can see that I have my plan already laid out here on the chart, which is basically, here is my entry, somewhere around 418. And then I'm just using this swing low as my stop, and then I'm looking for a one risk to reward for this trade, basically looking for a move somewhere around 425. So pretty easy setup. And the question is, what got me into this setup? Really easy. You can see right here that we are starting to have these wicks in the anchor VWAP zone, which is the first thing that I look for, a reversal. And then of course you can see that momentum is pretty bullish. Trend continues to be to the downside, and you can also confirm that by the 21 being above that 8 exponential. That turns to signal a short-term trend to the downside. But I'm always looking for these reversal setups because they tend to happen pretty fast. And one of my clues is always going to be my momentum indicator, and of course looking at price. So this is the first setup that I'm going to be watching. And of course you can see the volume shelf, really nice. And we have this space right here, which means that there's not a lot of volume going all the way to 430. So pretty nice setup. I really like it. The next one is gonna be SMCI. Pretty awesome setup. Kind of the same idea, right? We're looking at SMCI here. We are trending above that 8 and 21 exponential moving average. And as always, I'm using that anchor VWAP zone. And basically the anchor VWAP zone, guys, is pretty simple. I just use an anchor VWAP anchor to the low. And then what I do is I use a percentage offset. And you can do that pretty simple by just tapping on the anchor VWAP, going to settings right here, and then you're gonna see these bands multiplier. I use the percentage, and my rule of thumb is I tend to use half of the ADR of the stock. So for this stock, the ADR is 7.6. I tend to go to half the ADR, so I'm using 3 just as a general number. So it's not rocket science. It's not something super strict. I just tend to see what works, and then I tend to use that level. That way, I can look for a zone rather to just a line. So for now, SMCI holding that zone, holding this volume shelf, looking pretty nice. We do have earnings, but I'm just looking for a simple move into that Fibonacci zone, which is just an extension from this level to this level, 1272 extension and 1618 extension for my targets. That's SMCI. And then finally, Google. Google is lagging here a little bit. So here's my plan as well. You can see it on the chart. But I do think that there's a probability that we had a really nice move to the upside in Google. We are retesting that anchor VWAP zone, and I'm looking for that zone to act as support, and then seeing a continuation in Google, and basically just going with the overall market. Some other setups that I'm going to be watching, I'm going to share two of the setups that I'm going to be watching. The first one is going to be ABGO. This one is looking pretty nice. One of the things that I really like about ABGO is that we continue to trend above this 21 exponential moving average. And then if we're looking at price, you can see right here that we had this move to the upside, and then we had this little rejection from the anchor VWAP zone of resistance. And now we are starting to hold that zone to the downside. And also, if you happen to use Fibonacci, you can look for a 50 to 618 retracement. That also happens to be around this 180 level. So this one looking really nice. I do think that AVGO will continue to the upside. And then the other setup that I'm going to be watching is on ARM. And you can basically see that is a pretty similar setup. We had this move to the upside. We're starting to hold this zone in the anchor VWAPs. And then I'm looking for a continuation overall in ARM as well. So if you want to see more setups, this is going to be the entire list. If you want to take a screenshot, if you want to see if these setups also fall into your system, you can, of course, trade them as well. So that's going to be it for the video, guys. Price is looking pretty bullish. I continue to think that we will continue to see higher prices in the SPX. I think that we have to ride the trend while the trend lasts. And of course, we're going to look for these clues using momentum, using price as always to find that edge if we happen to reverse in the trend. But for now, the trend remain bullish and I'm looking to participate on the bullish side going into next week. So once again, thank you so much guys for your time. I hope that you have an amazing weekend and I will see you on future videos. Take care and bye bye.